Great.
Thank you.
So thank you. And next we have the Greater Hornby residents, Marc, Duff. Thank you.
Panthers isn't a good subject at the moment, actually. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight to you all. On the first slide, you'll see there on the left-hand side, we've got the 0800 Hornby set up that we put in place. This was a number of community groups that come together and identified before COVID hit our community that there was going to be a need to look after our isolated, our people feeling lonely. And the reason I've got that up there is that wouldn't have been possible without the Strengthening Community Fund. And we really want to thank our community governance team of Emma, Bailey and Sam, who worked so quickly with us to help us get that in place. And it really has been a major benefit for our community. It's also allowed those who have moved into our community as new residents, they can ring that number and they get an information pack about a community, which has some vouchers in it for the Hub Hornby. But it also has this basic information, like if they want who to ring at the council, who their councillor is, if they need a sporting team, any cultural groups. So it gives them a complete picture of our community and how we can help.
No, before you just slip off there, how many people, do you have any stats on how many picked it up around the COVID issue? Just off the top of your head, you got feedback?
The last time I was we looked like about 20 or 30 people in the community that had really reached out for help.
Right.
Yeah. And it's also like in the last, we've also had some that have just come through the Greater Hornby Residents Association Facebook page, which aren't included in those stats that we've helped as well.
Yeah.
But even like over the weekend.
I sent this through to the DHB because I was so impressed with the model of the community reaching out to the community directly. And I won't make the comment that I made about their booklet, but I thought that the leaflet was fantastic.
I think the other concern was too that while I think we're in an age where we think that everyone's on social media, and our aim was to make sure that this went into everyone's letterbox in Hornby.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Just going on to the next slide. Stick to your game plan, please. We were a bit disturbed as a group when we watched some of the extra spending that went on. We thought you had an opportunity as councillors to show a really clear message to the community that you'd come in under budget in terms of your rates increase, and all these things started appearing and being added on. And we thought in a time that we're in, it would have been a good time to show some restraint. We think as an organisation that the annual plan should just have a little tinkering done to it, and that the long-term plan is where we've been told that we should bring major projects that we want to bring into our community. And that's reflected in our presentation today, that we're not asking things to be included in this annual plan, that we will be starting to bring them into the long-term plan. So, and I think also if you hadn't added all these things in, it would have given you a little bit more wriggle room with some of these things like you're hearing tonight, that you could have actually chosen other stuff to go in that may have been more important. Now, the reason I put up that picture is that is the water, what we call the Waterloo stream, which is one of the most contaminated streams in the city. Yet we watched while the Nottingham stream got that funding, yet we thought it would have been nicer to actually take some time out, if there was some room for extra funding, actually look at what the most needed streams or waterways in Christchurch needed the funding, rather than just pull one out and support that. Yeah, but what we've heard back from council staff is that ours is one of the most contaminated, and we're struggling to get it on and that is actually where the river starts. Yeah.
Do you know where it is on the annual plan at the moment? I mean, on the LTP?
I don't think there's anything in there. I could be correct, but I don't think there's anything.
No, I can ask the question.
Yeah. But that is something that, as we say, like we want to bring that forward as something that we will be looking to bring into the.
Yeah.
High density housing. We think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the council going forward to make sure the strain that is going to be caused by the, our current water service, sewage, and roading with increased high density housing. The road I show is Amy's Road, which is over a 4-year period, was to be resealed, but we're having emergency repairs being done on it every year, just because of the pressure on that road. I think I counted 69 cars banked up in that road one day trying to get back into Halswell, and we have the same problem going the other way into Hornby in the mornings. So, and this is one street also where, like, we've had one property come down and 7 units go onto it. We won't get too much into high density because I realise that's another submission coming forward. Quarries will be an issue, we think, in the upcoming election. We just really want the council's assistance, where they can, help us in getting that setback increase between residential and quarries. We keep hearing whispers where some of the quarry operators, when they're finished, are going to look to give them back to the city. We would really warn you not to do that. We've got one issue already in our ward, the Duns Whinstone quarry. I think it will just lead to you having ongoing costs with that quarries, and if they're so good that they want to give them back, they can develop them themselves before they. 153 Gilberthorpes Road. Our community board and councillors in our ward were not even aware this was up for sale. Only 2% of our surveyed residents knew that it was even up to be passed on. This is an absolute gem of a site. We ask that you don't take a big brother approach and be a kind little sister and help us get this back into a community space that we can use. There's a real need in a growing Hornby community for more spaces like this, and there's a great opportunity for us to put a community garden in out the back as well. What needs doing? It was okay until the last tenants moved out. Now we hear it's not fit for purpose and it needs a lot of work done on it. But as a community, we've shown that we can work together and get these projects done, and this is one we'd like to work with and get this up and running. This is something just going forward. Once again, we're not sure where the responsibility lies, but as you can see, that pedestrian is walking on what we call the main south road, and there's no pathway between that shopping centre, which is the countdown, the Mitre 10 down to the hub Hornby. And you can see how slight that car is coming around, where that guy's going to walk around that corner very shortly. And you can also see if a cyclist was to come around the corner, the first thing they're going to see is that pedestrian, and they will immediately go out into that traffic. So we're saying we just want some help from the council staff of who to work with to get that footpath put in. And there's going to be increased pressure with another retail development going in Hornby called the Rail Yard. This is most probably our biggest frustration, and I was really struck the other night when I was actually at the Templeton Residents Association meeting, and it was quoted that 500 students in New Zealand have been injured outside school gates since 2019. And in their words, they're just waiting for a death to happen outside of school, which is incredibly sad to hear. So we had a meeting on this site. We were told that there would be an independent traffic report coming back to us because there's a cycleway due to go through it. We want to make sure, for the community's sake, that before that cycleways go through, that we've got it incredibly safe for all the users and that school students can have a safe passage to school. We hear in this council chamber that us communities know our communities best, but with the cycleways sometimes they get put through what us residents would think are not the best way to go through an area, and this is our major concern on this intersection. And on that, I've actually brought to the community board as well. We would love to see when a cycleway goes in, that a year later you talk to the residents, you talk to the businesses where that cycleway went, get the feedback, is it working as it was anticipated? That can be used for future cycleways, the feedback that you got from ones that you've already put in. There doesn't seem to be any follow-up in terms of whether those cycleways worked, or the fears that residents had, whether they were fears or not. The community patrol actually started monitoring that corner, and it even surprised them how dangerous and how many people just go through that stop sign without stopping to try and beat what we call it the ski jump, the Parker Street ski jump, where the cars come over. The future of the Hornby Library, this is like one of the long-term plan things. This is our Ramsay Street neighbours moment. we think that the other half of the building we can set up. There's a big need. Don't get this confused with 151 and 153. The community centre is bulging at its seams. They need their own space and groups to go in there, but we also need that 151 and 153. Our worry is that the council will mix the two up and think that one can go into one or the other. But there's a need for both for that library, and we're just signalling that going forward that there's a real need in the community for the community centre to take over that other half of the Hornby Library. And as an initiative, the Greater Hornby Residents Association is actually going to be going into the community centre one night a week for a drop-in centre where the residents can come and see us between 6 and 8, one-on-one with members of the GHRA, and we just think it's a good initiative going forward. The organics treatment plant, obviously we feel for the people in Bromley, but we don't want it in our backyard, please. So that's a warning shot. We would like to actually, I've heard a couple of comments around getting questions answered by staff. Honestly, we could not have had more speedy replies as a Residents Association to the queries we wanted, and they've been in a really timely manner. We look forward to more information though in the bubbles. When you click on the bubbles, it tells you what it is and where the funding is. And Katie has told me that going forward that will happen, that when you click on, it will come up with what that spending is actually for. Because I think that takes up a lot of council staff. We click on the bubble, the first thing we do is we flick an email to the council saying, what is it for? We don't know. To the retiring mayor and Councillor Chen, and also Anne Galloway, thank you so much. We've really appreciated your support and your tireless work for coming in behind our community. And we've got a photo there of Leanne when she came out to that pool meeting, which was then followed up by the bus coming in. And let's say lastly, please keep the community funding at the levels that it's at. I think going into the elections, it would actually be nice to see where councillors stand on the community funding and whether you'll look at cutting any community funding through that strengthening community fund. Because we saw last year in the LT plan, the community concerns when it was even mentioned that that community funding might be cut. It does a lot in our community. And that's just a bit of free advertising at the end for us. Never miss a chance to advertise. But this event would not be made through community funding. And when we got the community funding, we knew we could put on the event through strengthening community funds. We've actually already had 3 businesses in the last 2 days that have got behind it and given us money. That would not have happened if we didn't have the council money to initialise getting that event up and running. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We've heard that from a number of submitters, Mark. We've heard that, you know, it's the council investment that becomes the hook for others to have the confidence to invest as well. But thank you very much for all that you do for the residents, but also the Residents Association itself. I mean, just another example with you putting on the one night a week drop-in, you know, just really reaching out into your community. So thank you very much.
That's right. Thank you.
I think we're going to have to organise people to come in and clap for all of this. Lindsay Chan is the next one.